Have you ever felt like an imposter? Because I feel like an imposter sometimes. Hi guys, you're welcome to our channel. My name is Mariah Ahunaya, and today we're just going to be talking because we're going to be chit-chatting with each other. Serious talk, but still talk. I want to interchange, expository topics with just, random chit-chats here and there of things that are happening to me. So, last week, one of my friends, email friend, sent me a message, and it was a sweet message, and he said, oh my gosh, I put a picture up of my family, and he was like, you guys look so beautiful. Mariah, you're really killing motherhood. I see you, I see the things you're doing, and I'm inspired. And as he was writing that thing, I was just like, really? Because at that very moment, I wasn't feeling at my best, at my peak in the motherhood journey. And after he said that, I just felt, are you sure that one day I will not mess up and these people will see that, Mariah is not as put together as she is? And then I seized the thought at the instant when it came, and I said, that's not a thought of or from God. Now, something had happened earlier in the day to start making me think those thoughts. I'd gone for my son's immunization earlier in the day, and as the nurse was giving him, one of the injections, and I think she said it was rotavirus, and I said, it's not that one that causes baby to poo-poo. And she was like, no, that's the one that causes baby not to poo-poo. And I was like, I just kept silent, and I was reflective that I've been passing information, and there's this confidence that I sometimes have that I know a lot of things when it comes to motherhood. And I was going to do an actual, expository topic on immunization, and this simple basic thing I did not know, and that triggered other lines of thoughts that, am I actually doing this motherhood thing well? Do I actually know everything? Am I, just a series of funny thoughts coming back and forth. And when thoughts are coming in your head, they're not really coordinated. And at the end of the day, I just realized, I'm not supposed to be perfect. I'm not supposed to know it all. I'm not supposed to be the perfect mom. In fact, the reason why I started the channel was because I didn't know so many things. And I wanted to share the one that I knew with people. So there was no space for fear. This channel started out of love. And that began to calm me down. So I said, let me do a bit of research on these feelings that I'm having, because I've had these feelings before. I've had them especially when I had my first son, and they were much darker than this feeling of being an imposter. Let me just check out what it is. And I realized there's actually something called the parent imposter syndrome, especially for mothers, the motherhood imposter syndrome. And what is motherhood imposter syndrome? Motherhood imposter syndrome looks like this. Maybe someone has, the perfect IG account, Instagram account. I don't have an IG account again. Instagram deleted my account, but that's a story for another day. The person has a perfect Instagram account. The person has a seemingly perfect life, on the outside, on the surface. But behind closed doors, the person feels afraid. The person feels very inadequate. The person feels like they are not being the best mom. And on the worst end of that feeling is that people will find out how inadequate this person actually is. It's a disgusting feeling. It's not a nice feeling to have for the mother or for whoever is going through imposter syndrome. And I'm here to tell you one thing. I'm here to tell you something is you're doing just fine. Most of the time, when you're feeling a feeling of inadequacy, or when you're feeling that imposter syndrome, it's because you're actually a high achiever, and you're trying to do a lot of things right. You're actually doing a lot of things right. Of course, and obviously, you cannot know it all. We're all students of life. But you need to understand that and give yourself that grace. So, how does imposter syndrome start? It starts from when we're young. That's when we begin to cultivate and have imposter syndromes. And we cannot pass this on to our children, which is why I'm doing this video. How does this start? For many girls, for many women, the paradigm of our age, or the paradigm of the culture or society, usually demands perfectionism from us. perfectionism, especially in the home front, right? When I was young, whenever I was sloppy, especially in housework, my mother would drum it into my ears. You're going to your husband's house. You can't be behaving like this. This is how you're going to do in your husband's house. This is how you're going to treat your in-laws. This is how you're going to... Rarely, if ever, did she, balance that out with my brothers, by telling them that they're also going to have a home one day. Is this how you're going to treat your wife? Is this how you're going to treat your in-laws? More of those lessons were for me, the girl, especially the fact that I was the first girl. It was for me, the girl, the lessons, the hard truths were for me to hear, And I realized very quickly that I wasn't the only one that was hearing such hard truths. I saw a lot of girls, a lot of young women, who were also passing through the same, especially when they came of age, they became teenagers, and anytime from now you can get married. Anytime from now is the time. So from that teenage years, you have mothers who are grooming their children for marriage, for becoming a mother. Of course, becoming a mother is a hard job, but so is becoming a father. Becoming a mother is not easy. And our mothers went through it and they saw it. But does that mean that they should tell us that becoming a mother is all about perfectionism? Because that was more of what the message was. You can't do this in your husband's house. You can't. So it was a societal thing, and it's still a societal thing. A lot of mothers, a lot of parents still go about, telling their children to do this for the husband's house. I remember during my NYSC, no shades, my darling girls, my roommates then would be doing things. They would say they are learning to cook for their husband's house, they're learning to bake for their husband's house, etc. And I was like, I don't understand. At the point I started becoming, or they started tagging me as a feminist, because I was like, you have to learn these things for yourself first. So from early on, I always rebelled the thoughts that you had to make some sacrifices or do some extreme adjustments because of your future home or even your present home. Even though that is what it is a lot of times, that should not be our motivation. I see sometimes as well when, especially ladies, when they're thanking their friends for being their friends, the emphasis is usually on their sacrifice, on how she has put herself last, how she's an angel. Oh, you're so good, you consider everybody first. And a lot of times I sit back and relax and I think, is that actually a good thing? Is it a good thing that, a woman is expected to be perfect in her home, be there for her husband, be there for her children, especially if she's the first daughter, be there for her siblings, her parents, and then be there for herself last? Right? But that's how the society has programmed things. Please, if my thought is not coordinated, just try to piece things together and follow me. That's how the society is, And for men as well have their struggles, but I'm a lady, so I may not be able to speak to your struggles as well as I'll be able to relate to and speak to the struggles of the woman. Now, from this perfectionism that is expected of the woman, the girl child, or the female, especially in the home front, is where she begins to feel like she can't make a mistake, right? I remember the first time I had the imposter syndrome, or the imposter, it was almost immediately after I had given birth to my son. Even before that, I had been having a series of imposter syndromes here and there when it came to working, switching work, coming to Port Harcourt and trying to find my balance in photography, trying to do architecture. Am I good enough? Yes, I finished with really good grades in school, but did I deserve the grades? Those kinds of things. Am I living my life in accordance to, the things that I'm capable of, etc. Those kinds of feelings back and forth. It's not like it happens every time, but once in a while, those things will just creep up. Now, when it happened in motherhood was just almost immediately I gave birth to my son. And I had no idea that breast milk doesn't come in until about the third day, like fully. And I was in this hospital, and there was a lot of pressure. Oh, breastfeed your child is crying. I broke down and I felt like a failure. Because seeing that baby, that weak being, baby was very weak. My baby came out 2.8 kg, very small. His limbs fragile and all. And he was crying. I was wincing in pain because I felt like it was my fault this baby was crying. I don't think my husband felt it was his fault that baby was crying. Oh yes, the responsibility to breastfeed the child is given to the mother. But because I didn't know that at that time, my breast milk couldn't have flown a day or two, it wasn't a requirement. I broke down. But thank God, I had the idea to reach out to somebody, anybody. I couldn't reach out to the medical personnel. And it can be like that sometimes. Sometimes you can't reach out to the medical personnel. Sometimes they are judgmental as well. The nurses you feel like they're eyeing you like, woman. Have you seen women who, maybe their pain threshold is high and nurses are looking at them, auntie, calm down, auntie, behave yourself now, And a lot of women die in the abroad, especially black women, because they expect them to be strong. They expect a level of perfectionism from them, which they cannot give, which they do not have, which they are not supposed to give or have. And so I reached out to this person in the toilet. I ran to the toilet that morning. I went to the toilet and I reached out to her. Actually, is a YouTuber here. I'll always be grateful to her. Adeje Space. And I sent a message to her on IG. And for some reason, she replied instantly. I said, I'm almost breaking down. I'm sad. I can't produce milk. And she's like, who produces milk the first 2 days? My dear, if you can't, get formula for your child. And it just set me free. Set me free. So if you're facing imposter syndrome today, the first thing I want to tell you is to talk to somebody. Let God lead you. Speak to somebody about it. Don't be silent. Talk about it. Say, this is how I'm feeling. I feel like I'm inadequate. I feel like I'm a failure here. I feel sad that I can't do this. You're not necessarily saying, help me. You're just sharing how you feel. I think that's the first thing you should do. And the second thing I would advise you to do, let God permeate your thoughts. Replace that thoughts with God's thoughts. In the book, the holy book that I read, which is the Bible, Philippians 4 verse 8 says that think on things that are truthful. Anything that is truthful is what God has said about you. Think on things that are excellent. Think on things that are kind. They are loving, admirable. Don't think ugly or nasty thoughts about yourself. Think admirable things about yourself. Say, this is a phase, I will overcome it. Okay, I don't know everything. I'm a student of life. Thank God. God's wisdom is available for me. Replace every negative thought with positive ones. And prayerfully do so as well. The third thing that I would advise you to do is to actually seek help if you can. Seek help from a professional. I would link below, a professional's address. Actually, I can even say it. In the hospital where I consult with Mind Aid, you can ask for Dr. Gerald. Dr. Gerald Daria. He deals with the mind. He's a psychiatrist, but he also counsels and helps. So if you feel like you're breaking down, if you feel like it's extreme for you, that is here in Port Harcourt. I'm sure there are some therapists all over Nigeria, in Lagos, or wherever you are. You can consult and meet them as well. Right? The fourth thing you should do is to pamper yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. It's not just about thinking good thoughts about yourself. Actually love yourself. It's from the overflow of the love that you have for yourself that you'll be able to give to others. Out of your abundance of the love that you have for yourself, and then do unto others as you want others to do to you. If you're having daughters, if you're growing daughters, please don't be so... Celebrate every aspect of their lives and hammer on every aspect of their lives. To be fair, my parents celebrated my achievements. As a child, I was a high achiever. Even though sometimes I doubted it. I remember the very first time I felt like an imposter, I think I was in primary school. And I had a teacher, Mr. Champon, Kekotun. And he came and he told my mother that your daughter was the best student in the last class. And in my mind I said, is it because Mr. Wilson, that was his name, Mr. Wilson is your friend, did he make me the best? And then one day I just went back and I saw my scores, I saw the sheets, and I said, oh man, I'm actually intelligent too. As a small child, I already had imposter syndrome. So this is a real thing, right? This is a real thing. And I don't know as many people that are going through it, feeling like you are not good enough to do something. Some people never start things because they feel they are not good enough. And everybody's telling you, I think you should do this thing. I think you will be good at doing this. But you just feel you aren't good enough. I think you'll be good in doing photography. Why don't you look into it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people have told you, but you still keep feeling inadequate. Then maybe it's something you have to sit down and work on. Just sit down and think to yourself, am I experiencing imposter syndromes? So yeah, that is all for today. That is what today's chat is about. From time to time, we'll be doing these random chats here and there on things that we're feeling, not necessarily motherhood, parenthood, but just general life that affects motherhood, that affects parenting as well. And I pray that God will help us. Thank you for sticking around. I'll see you next week. Don't forget, please like, please share, please subscribe. And let's chat in the comments. Let me know how you feel. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Lots of love. Bye.